Okay, today we are playing a game on Watchpoint Gibraltar. This is an unranked game, and we are playing Tracer the entire way through. And our current team composition is Reinhardt, Roadhog, Tracer, Pharah, and Mercy. So we have 3 DPS and 1 support, which is generally not recommended, but I'm actually fine with it. And these are 3 good DPS, so there's no one I want to give up that much for another healer, so I'm fine with it. What I'm not okay with is Reinhardt and Roadhog, because Reinhardt and Roadhog in 2017, how uncouth. I would much rather they were playing some combination of Winston, D.Va, and Zarya. Because Reinhardt still doesn't function correctly, still not very good against dive comps. You know, it's still not really Reinhardt's time. Soon, maybe, when they actually fix him. Roadhog also currently not really a hero in the game because doesn't really do very much. We're still waiting for him to get buffed. One day. Other than that, other than tanks, I'm fine with it though. So, let's start the game. So we come out the right-hand side and immediately use all our blinks to come over here. Not to like nitpick too much right at the start, but you could have just walked out the left-hand side door and had 3 blinks instead of using all 3 to get over here. And you don't generally want to be completely out of blinks, because it's harder to fight. Granted, we're not really expecting to fight anybody over here, but you never know, right? So, some Symmetra turrets right there. Also, there was a specific thing you were looking for feedback on in the email. We will talk about that at the end, because otherwise it'll be a long, rambling, incoherent mess right at the start. So we'll save that for the end instead, where everybody expects it to be. So, there is a thing I've noticed generally with how we play Tracer in this game, which is, it's not necessarily bad or wrong, but basically what we do is we spend a lot of time hovering around our team, and then when we see an opportunity to pick somebody, we go in for them, but we don't spend very much time, like, hovering around their backline, putting pressure on them and actually, like, looking to kill people, which is sort of the point of Tracer, flanking around and being very, very annoying to their backline, which I don't feel like we really do, but the way we play isn't necessarily bad. I do also have a long, rambling, incoherent point about that, but we'll save that for the end as well. So, things are going pretty well right now. They've had Junkrat and Symmetra, so it's not been too terrible for us. They also apparently had a Pharah that I don't ever remember actually seeing, so whatever. Symmetra, not the end of the world for us, because we've got better range than Symmetra. She did get hooked right there, but, you know, Roadhog doesn't really kill people anymore, and Symmetra's kind of small, so even harder for him to actually kill her. We have lost our soldier. Now our soldier's alive again, so never mind. Here's Junkrat. Junkrat's pretty terrible at fighting us, so we get in there and kill him. Did hit us with a bomb, which was kind of scary, but he was too low to actually kill us. Ult's happening over there. This is all basically fine. Like, I don't really have an issue with the way we play this. Now, so, we do fixate a little bit on comboing this Pulse Bomb, because, in general. Because we've built up Pulse Bomb, and we just sort of want to use that to pick people off. Did have to recall right away from the Zenyatta right there. Little scary to just walk through the doorway at Zenyatta, because then it kind of makes it easier for Zenyatta to hit you, so... And our recall is currently down, so we just sort of wait until we got a better angle to come in on him, and then we do it.
Got a one shot. Oh god.
Didn't actually get to kill him, because we ran out of blinks and our recall is down, so we couldn't really chase him. Unfortunate, whatever. Could have stuck him. You know, that would be pretty sick, because generally you're sticking people to get picks really quickly. So we are currently trying to arrange comboing our ultimate with Reinhardt, which is not really necessary, because unless Reinhardt gets, like, 3 people all balled up together, you can usually just, like, walk up and drill to death whoever he is actually knocked down. So we fixate on comboing our Pulse Bomb a lot right here, and we don't really need to. Usually the only thing you try to combo Pulse Bomb with is Graviton, because that's one of the strongest ult combos in the game. Debatably the strongest, because it kills you through Transcendence. So we do fixate a little bit on that too much, I think, when we could just be, like, trying to throw it on somebody's face and pick them off. Because ultimately, all of the flankers are just trying to pick people off and make the fight uneven. People like Tracer, Genji, Reaper as well. they can justify uneven responses because a Tracer that's on your backline is usually going to take 2 or 3 people to actually kill the Tracer because, I mean, obviously the support isn't going to kill Tracer in most cases. So a DPS is going to have to come back. Maybe more of them come back. And we just sort of hover around the front line. We throw the bomb in right there. We only get Zenyatta with it. We could have just shot the Zenyatta to death, so not a great use of company resources. Soldier's also using his ultimate, and he only killed Winston with it, which is kind of sad, really, but, I mean...
PTSD for sticking divas.
Saying we got PTSD about sticking divas. I can imagine why. Yeah, you generally don't want to stick tanks if at all possible. So both of their supports are currently dead, so they're pretty fucked.
Winston on me.
Though Zenyatta will be getting back soon, although the Zenyatta is actually now a Mercy. So we definitely want to kill the Mercy as quickly as possible now. Granted, she doesn't have her ult right now, this person's only just changed to Mercy, but she's dead regardless, so that's great for us.
I got soldiered.
So we were very scared of the Symmetra because she was tethered to us, which is understandably scary, but she didn't actually have her beam charged up yet, but then Soldier just killed us with the Helix Rocket, which is not that unsurprising, but we killed the Mercy, we got the point, so it was all worth it in the end. So we have Pulse Bomb built up again, so we should be looking to pick somebody off with this as quickly as possible. Don't worry, this has all been going very quickly so far because not very much has actually been happening. We do start stalling out at this point. Spoiler warning, we don't actually get the 3rd point.
He's not.
So, now you notice that they have a much better combination of tanks as far as I'm concerned. They have Winston and D.Va, which is generally going to make it quite difficult for our team, because Soldier does not do very well against D.Va, or Winston really, because, Soldier doesn't really like people diving on his face. It's kind of hard for them to kill him, but he doesn't usually kill them. And Pharah is countered by D.Va. And Winston, to a certain degree. The cat is about to come. Here's the cat now. I'm sure that sounded great when he jumped up onto the desk. And Tracer... It's not that these heroes are gonna kill us, but they are gonna make it, like, inconvenient for us. Winston can zone you away from the enemy team's backline, but we don't actually spend that much time behind them, as I said earlier. So... Mercy just res Pharah right there, which I'm not 100% on, because Pharah could have just walked back, but, I mean, whatever, you know. She can do whatever she wants. So we're trying to work out this combo again. Nice. He almost has Earth Shatter built up again, because, I mean, it charges very quickly, so this is unsurprising. But I'd rather we were just looking for a chance to stick one of their backline and pick them off, rather than combo it still.
Nice.
We play Tracer in this game very similar to just a frontline fighter, which is not really Tracer's strong suit. There's a Pharah right above us right now, which we took a little while to adjust to. We might have been able to kill her if we changed to her a little bit sooner, but she died to Tac Visor anyway. Then we died to their Tac Visor. If only Mercy had her res now, that's all I'm saying. So, we got wiped right there. And we used some ultimates as we were doing it, which is pretty terrible because now we have to build all those ultimates up again before we can really expect to push in. Because the way attack versus defense works, generally the attackers have to use all of their ultimates and the defenders only usually have to use 1 or 2. Winston, currently on our backline, we're coming back to help kill the Winston, which is fine enough because Tracer is actually quite good at killing Winston because Winston's head is really fucking big. He doesn't actually threaten Tracer very much, and Tracer can usually kill Winston fairly quickly, so that's fine. But now, him and Symmetra are alive again, so great. Granted, it's not the greatest res in the world, because she had to res them basically outside of our spawn, which is not really... Like, I'm sure she'd rather they just didn't die outside of our spawn. I know that's what I would have rather they did, but, you know, whatever. Our Mercy also just resed Reinhardt alone. Kind of feel like Reinhardt could have just walked out, but, you know, whatever. So we are really low HP right now. We've had Winston get on top of us, which is very scary. So here's the thing, right? We blink forward right there, and that leaves us with 0 blinks. So we've used recall right here. Did we actually need to use recall?
Got her?
No, not really. We didn't. We were at full HP, basically, and we were getting healed. So we didn't need to use that recall at all. And now we end up using all of our blinks. We blink forward aggressively, and now we have no blinks, no recall, so we're gonna get killed. If your recall is down, and you're running out of blinks, you usually want to be backing out, not going in, because if you go in with your recall down, you are generally... It's much easier for you to suddenly die, because Tracer doesn't have very many hit points, and then having no blinks as well is even worse. So, when recall's down, you usually want to play more passively, especially when you're also low on blinks, but we blinked forward aggressively, we were out of blinks, and then we just ended up in a really bad spot where it was going to be hard for us to get out. And Winston just killed us. So, be more careful when you're low on resources, basically.
Baby diva.
So, we have Pulse Bomb built up again, which is great. They do still have a Symmetra, so we're pretty good at killing Symmetra turrets, so we do want to try and do that if at all possible. There's another Tracer. We don't really want to try and fight the other Tracer, because there's a couple of reasons for this. The most basic reason is there are certain matchups in the game that are just not worth bothering with, because they take too long to get resolved. Tracer versus Tracer, Genji versus Genji, Tracer versus Genji, Pharah versus Pharah. These fights, like, the best case scenario is you kill the other person, but it will have taken you so long to do it that you were probably better off just doing something else anyway, and the chances of you actually killing them are fairly low unless they give you a really good opportunity to do it, because all of these people can basically just go, I'm done fighting you now, and there's not that much you can do to stop them from doing that. And the other thing is, they have a Symmetra, so that Tracer currently has 75 more hit points than you, so she should win that fight pretty easily 1v1. So we don't really want to try and fight the other Tracer as much as possible. Right there, we could have tried to stick the Mercy, which should basically mean we win this point, because I'm pretty sure Mercy is their only healer at this point. She is indeed their only healer, I don't see another healer. So, we could have tried to stick her right there. And we said right there we're saving our bomb for the Earth Shatter. We could have just stuck it on Mercy's face, or tried to. And if we kill the Mercy, we should just win the fight, so I think we had an opportunity to actually make something happen there, but we're not really working very hard to create opportunities. We're just sort of waiting around for opportunities to come to us, which you don't really want to do in general, but Tracer has a lot of ability to actually make something happen, and we're not really taking advantage of that playing like this. And I have more elaboration on that, but we'll save that till the end, because it's going to be very incoherent and rambling, and it's going to start talking about Genji, and oh god, it's going to be terrible. So you can look forward to that. So attack visor's happening right now, so we've backed out. We thought about going back forward a little bit right there, which would have been not great. Mercy's going in for the res. Now this is a good res. This traded ultimates, you know, rather than just raising them outside of our spawn for once. Winston is currently using his ultimate, which is extremely inconvenient. So our recall is now down. We only have one blink. We're low HP, so we can't really go in. We don't even really want to be as close as we are right here, because we might just suddenly die. So we should probably back up and get the health kit. Well, there's one in here that we can try to get, but if you could put my pen on, that'd be great. There's a health kit in here that we could try and get, or the big one behind us, because we don't want to be walking around at less than 100 HP, because that's where you just suddenly die if something hits you. So we want to be playing a little bit more cautiously than we were right there. Earth Shatter has happened now, though, and we've been healed back up, so we get to go back in. There are a lot of Symmetra turrets back there, which were kind of making it inconvenient for us. Almost got the soldier, but then he put the tack visor down. I mean, that would make it harder to kill him, so it's not wrong, but he put the biotic field down. We did get him in the end. Pulse bombed the ground, but managed to get the Tracer.
Got the soldier.
A little bit optimistic. It worked out. I wouldn't recommend going for that one, because I feel like their Tracer had to fuck up to make that happen, which is not really something you want to have to rely on happening. But then D.Va just tapped us and killed us. So, you know, it's a little awkward. We get really thirsty for this soldier, but our recall is still down. And as we said, we used it not that long ago, and as we said earlier, we do want to be careful when our recall is down, because it's very easy to just suddenly die and there's not much you can do about it. And then we keep going in while our recall is down. And by this point this happens, we're already dead, because we're out of recall and out of blinks. Even though a health kit was relatively close to us, we had no blinks at the time to actually get to it. So, again, unless you're really confident you can pull it off, be careful about going in aggressively while recall is down, because it's fairly important for not dying. So Mercy's coming back now. We've come back to help her get out a little bit quicker, which is good.
Uh-oh.
We have blinking forward and leaving ourselves with 0 blinks again as we're going forward, which we don't want to do. You want to make sure you always have at least 1 blink in reserve, and we're like blinking up to their front line. Even if your recall is up, you don't want to be completely out of blinks because they're somewhat important for Tracer, being as she's all about mobility.
Gorilla's got shots.
So, we are having trouble finding a way in. Symmetra's on us right now. It's not the end of the world because Symmetra can't actually kill us really, because we have better range than Symmetra. Unless the Symmetra just tethers to us with a max charge beam, because then it's just like, oh, you fucking died, get fucked. But right here, not scary. We recall aggressively, basically. We recall back up to the Symmetra right there, but pretty spooky, seeing as Symmetra could fairly easily kill us if we end up in the wrong spot. I would recommend just not doing that. And now Winston's on us. We've got no recall. Oh fuck, here's Tracer. So, again, we used our I think we intended to use it aggressively to get back onto the Symmetra. You've got to be really cautious doing that, because you've got to pull it off, basically. You've got to be able to kill the person that you're recalling on aggressively. And Symmetra's fairly hard to do that too, especially when you're recalling like where her turrets might be. And there's a Winston over there, so again, be cautious about being aggressive without recall up, basically. So, we're waiting for our team now. We haven't got that much time left. We're gonna have 1, maybe 2 more pushes, so it's not going that well for us. It's shame we don't have a Winston, because Winston is really good against their team comp right here. That's all, that's all I'm saying. Winston's pretty good against Symmetra. We've got a Roadhog and Reinhardt, though, in 2017, but it's current year, guys. Come on. So, the Symmetra turrets are still over here, and we would like to try and break them if at all possible. Because we have a very wide, we can hit the turrets from very far away and break them all very quickly because we have an automatic weapon with spread on it. So we want to, if possible, just poke past the enemy lines. We can just poke through this doorway over here and get any turrets that are up on these beams over here. Because, we know where they're going to be. They're going to be probably on the payload a couple. There's going to be a few back here, a few up there, probably on the other pillar as well over here. So, when you've got the opportunity, you do want to just poke in, break the turrets as quickly as possible, and then get out again, because you can't really advance into Symmetra turrets. You kind of have to, because you get fucked by the Symmetra turrets. The car wash is pretty terrible. So, you're the best one on your team for breaking them. So, well, Farah is also pretty good, but you or Farah should be prioritizing breaking the turrets when you think there's going to be a lot of them set up. As we can see right there, we got tasered right there, so we know there's a few there. And we end up getting killed by the turrets. There's a lot of them over here, as we can see from there. And this is trying too hard to make something work, really. Because it doesn't really seem like we have it particularly planned out. We're just alright, I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to throw it in here and see what happens. We're going to try and stick Symmetra and D.Va with it, basically. But if we play it a little cooler, and we just, come over here and, assess the situation as we come out of the doorway, we can see Mercy and Roadhog, what the fuck am I saying? Mercy and Soldier over here by themselves. You could just blink over here, stick it on them. Ideally, our recall is up, but we just used our recall. And they're more important to kill than, most of D.Va's mech and maybe Symmetra, which is what we were going to get with that stick right there. We do also want to break these turrets, because, holy shit, there's a lot of them right here, as we can see. So, we died right there. We didn't get res. Mercy only res the Reinhardt, even though from the way everything died, I think she could have resed 3 people at one point. She only resed 1, which is very disappointing.
Come on, point.
So, we now have to touch the point because it's in overtime. You should break those turrets, because there's about 1,000 of them on the bridge, and you're gonna get fucked by them as quickly as, very quickly. So, you need to break those a little quicker. And, I'll spoil it for you. We don't get it to the end right there. We don't magically teleport back and reach it. So, we're defending now. And we're still playing Tracer, which some people will turn their nose up at, but I'm perfectly fine with it.
They sent their Tracer this way.
So, we came over here because we were expecting them to still have a Tracer. And it turns out they did, which is not exactly unsurprising. If they have one on defense, they'll probably have one on attack. There's certain heroes that are like that, where if they've got them on attack, like if they've got a Symmetra on attack, or a Torbjorn on attack, they're gonna have it on defense. If they've got a Genji or a Tracer on defense, they're gonna also have them on attack. You know, there's certain heroes where if you see them on one side, they're gonna be on the other side. So, we're gonna fight the Tracer over here. We're not confident that we can kill her, so we end up not fighting her. Again, this is a fight we don't really want to opt into, because it's very time-consuming, generally. We do actually kill her fairly quickly, yeah. She should, like, it's her fault that this happens. There's no reason Tracer should die to you right there, but we killed her, so it all works out.
I'm behind him. I can kill their...
So, they still have a Symmetra, as we can see right here. We have gotten right up in Symmetra's face, which is not generally recommended. We're good at fighting Symmetra, but the reason that we're good at fighting Symmetra is we have better range than her. Not by much, but we can fight Symmetra outside of her range. Same reason we're also good against Reaper. We've got slightly better range than Reaper. But if we blink right into Symmetra's face, or into Reaper's face as well, that sort of negates our advantage, and it's very easy for us to suddenly die. Basically, we thought she was low HP, but she was being healed by Ana. So, you know, happens. Didn't actually know that you could jump up the rock face like that, so that's pretty interesting. Don't think I've ever actually seen somebody do that, but I can imagine it being helpful. So we're fighting the Tracer again, which we, again, don't really want to opt into.
I'm watching for it.
Now, they do have an Orisa, as we can see right here, which is great news for us. We managed to kill their Ana right there. Oh, no, their Ana, their Hanzo. Don't know why I thought that was Ana. Whatever. We killed him really quickly. Great, good stuff. We do stick the Orisa a little bit soon, because we haven't seen Orisa use her shift. So here's what you really want to do when you're fighting Orisa as Tracer. You just, like, get up on her, and you drill her down to about half hit points, and if she's used her shift by that point, you can just stick her and it'll kill her anyway, because she's below half hit points. And if not, you can just if she doesn't use her shift, you can just kill her, probably, because another clip will actually just kill her. You don't really want to just stick Orisa unless you know with certainty that her shift is down. And we didn't know with certainty that it was down, it wasn't down. We're getting a little thirsty trying to get her, but she's being healed by Ana, so it's not gonna happen. So you gotta be real careful about sticking Orisa if you don't know if her shift is down. So, Tracer's over there. She's in a very narrow hallway, so we can just sort of shoot into that area. Now we're going looking for her again.
I can try to kill her.
We still don't really want to be trying to fight Tracer, but we end up fighting Symmetra as well, and we do want to kill Sim. Sim is now dead, so great, awesome. I'm sure they're very happy about having a Symmetra and an Orisa and a Hanzo.
She's gonna rewind. Oh, good kill.
So, we're like, she's gonna rewind. Oh no, she's just dead actually. Yeah. There's quite a few situations where we've killed Tracer where I was like, why didn't she rewind? So, I don't know. I assume it was on cooldown or something. Maybe she just didn't have good enough reflexes. Who knows? Who knows? So we're waiting now. They were all mostly dead, so we have to wait for them to reset and actually come back over here again.
There's a Pharah coming, I hear her.
So we can hear Pharah coming. Pharah, kind of hard for us to kill, but not so bad on Gibraltar, because we can stand up on this high ground, and we're fairly close to her, so we have a chance to kill Pharah. We managed to kill Tracer again. At this point, we're kind of like, what's Tracer up to, man? So, we can see that they actually they put the shield generator down right there, didn't they? Yeah, because Hanzo suddenly has shield HP. So, we do want to try and break that. We can see they've got shield HP right now. We want to go and find that, because, you know, everybody having 75 more hit points is very inconvenient, and we're the only one on our team who can realistically go and kill the shield generator. So we should be looking for that. If I had to guess, granted I'm not exactly accustomed to breaking a shield generator on the attacker side from Gibraltar, it's probably like over in this area, or over here. Maybe over in this way, like around the corner. So we should go and try to break that relay, because we're the only one that can, really, on our team. We're just trying to get up behind them, and then we end up backing out, because we're not confident we can pull it off. We could have gone to look for the shield generator instead of jumping into them. You know. So, Mercy reses the soldier right there. That's probably fair enough, honestly, because I feel like if you're down soldier when they start this push, you'll probably lose the push. So, he also has tack visor, so it's pretty worth it. He has killed their Ana. We are now going to run in and try to stick somebody. Again, we throw it at the Orisa when we don't know if her shift is up or not, but we do still kill Zenyatta at least. Now both of their supports are dead, so they get to lose this push, really. But Symmetra is also a support and she's alive. Oh, if only she wasn't actually a defense hero, right? Come on, Blizzard. We all know it. They try to tell us, they're like, oh, you don't have to just be a healer to be a support. No, you do. She's the only one that can't heal. You know. Or, fuck it, the Sombra is more of a support than the Symmetra is. It's terrible. It's awful. So, they've used the bongo. We're gonna break the bongo. They did kill a couple of PR people with the Pulse Bomb, but they've lost so many people on their team, it's not gonna matter. Like, just Tracer and Orisa is not gonna be enough for them to push in right here, so if only Tracer did that when her team was alive, right?
1 minute left, alright?
So, a little scary right there, we do just like poke our face out and get shot. We don't want to be coming out here right now, because we have sub 100 HP, just barely, we have sub 100 HP. We should just pick up the large health kit that was in the room we were just in. We don't want to go out with this low hit points, basically. This few hit points. You know, we don't have enough health. We are just sitting here shooting into people, building up ult charge. We end up falling off and have to use our recall. Very optimistic bomb. Wouldn't recommend that one, because you just sort of throw it down like, hopefully someone walks into it. And Ana did. But wouldn't recommend that one. Usually you want to just, like, get up on somebody's face and, like, push the pulse bomb onto it. You don't want to actually have to lob it very far, because that's generally inconsistent. So, they've lost their Ana, so they've lost their main healer. We've come over here to fight Symmetra, which is fair enough. And we also got their Zenyatta to use his Transcendence. Even though we don't actually know it, he's using his Transcendence right now. We should have stayed on the Zenyatta, really, because we didn't actually know he used his, Transcendence. Yeah, we do also want to kill Symmetra, but we had a pretty good opportunity to kill both of their supports, which generally hobbles your attack a little bit. We do know in hindsight he used Transcendence, but we do want to stay on him until we know that, really. So we got Reaper coming up over here, which is spooky, but not terrible for us, because we are still playing Tracer. They haven't got very much time left right now, and they just used their, Dragon Strike, almost said Dragon Blade right there, Dragon Strike and their Transcendence. So, it's not going great for them. Now they're in the Graviton, we're just gonna come up and shoot at them. Didn't actually get to kill them, because we were suddenly purple, and we had to recall, which is fair enough. But most of them are still dead, regardless. We have Pulse Bomb, it's just Reaper. Reaper's running away from the point. There's a nano-boosted Symmetra here. That is very, very spooky. But there's an Ana over here, so we can try to kill her instead. Little bit fidgety and twitchy right there. We could have stayed on her. I think we were probably afraid of her throwing a grenade at her feet, but we saw she threw the grenade at Symmetra, actually. So we could have stayed on the Ana rather than coming back up here. 6 people should be able to kill Symmetra by themselves, really. 5 people. 6 would be with us there. So we could have stayed on the Ana. But, all in all, went pretty well. Pretty good game overall. So let's watch the play of the game. And then I will begin my long and incoherent points. Who got it? It was Symmetra.
Skill, and she's still overpowered. I fucking hate this character. I had her one shot, I came behind her. I'm putting bullets into her. Like, okay, she killed me before I could take away 10% of her health. Like, what?
So, the thing you were specifically looking for feedback on in the email was your call-outs, shot calling, I suppose, because you previously received feedback that you call out too many things, which I would generally agree with. I mean, not to say more communication is necessarily bad, but I do think you communicate too much, where you're basically communicating everything you do. Basically you want to convey, like, important information as quickly as possible. And you don't want to just go on and on and on, because other people probably have something that they need to communicate as well. So, calling out where people are, calling out when somebody is low HP, you know, these are, assuming they can actually get to them. If you're like 5 miles behind them, and you're like, oh, this Anna has 1 hit, but your team is, like, 5 maps over, well, they're probably not going to be able to do anything to them at that point, so then there's not really much point calling that one out. But generally calling out where people are when people are low HP, these are fine. You don't need to communicate, like, you communicate when everybody's low HP, even if your team can't realistically get to them. You call out where you are, which your team doesn't really need to know. You're playing Tracer. They will generally just assume you're probably behind them. So, you don't need to call out where you are and when you're trying to, cause you're like, oh, I'm trying to put pressure on their backline. I mean, that's kind of just what you're meant to be doing, so you don't really need to call that out. You don't really need to call out when you kill everybody, well, when you kill anybody, because you call out when you kill anybody at all. Usually it's only really important to call out that you've killed someone like Mercy or their supports. Saying that you've killed, like, Junkrat or something is not particularly important information. So I do think you communicate a little bit too much. Basically just, like, calling out things that your team doesn't really need to know. Where people are, if you think they have their ultimates, when you have your ultimate, these are things that are worth calling out. If somebody's low HP and your team can get to them, that's worth it, but not, could cut down on the things that we call out, basically. But at the same time, it's hard to say more information is bad, so it's not necessarily bad, all of the things that you've called out, but I do think you don't need to call out everything that you do. So the other long-range rambling incoherent point is, so basically, how we play Tracer is we hover around our team, and when we see somebody that we think we can pick off, we go in, we try to pick them off, and then we go back to our team. That's not necessarily terrible, and I think we played fine this game overall. However, I would recommend that you try playing Genji instead, if that's what you're gonna do. Because Tracer is more about applying continuous pressure, right? Tracer can just straight up kill people very quickly. She's very difficult to kill, unless you fuck up, like their Tracer did a bunch of times. But theoretically, Tracer is very hard to kill, and you can kill people very quickly. And she's very, very mobile, right? She's the most mobile hero in the game, horizontally at least, not vertically. So you'd want to kind of just be in their backline, applying pressure constantly. That's sort of Tracer's thing. There's 2 sort of main play styles for Genji, right? And there's a way you play Genji, which is basically the same way as you want to play Tracer, which is very aggressive, constantly in their backlines. If you watch somebody like Seagull, this is generally how they play Genji. There's another way to play Genji, though, which other people play there. I can never remember this dude's name. Shatter 2K? Shatter 2K? Something like that. Where they just hover around their team, just like poking in with their shurikens, building up as much ult charge as possible. And then when they see somebody low HP, they dash in, pick the person off, and then dash back to their team. And Genji's much better at that because it's fairly quick, right? Tracer has to go in and actually like line everything up and actually kill the person, and then she usually has to use recall to get back out again. Genji, you dash in, you shuriken them, you melee them, you maybe just kill them dashing through them, and then you dash back to your team, and unless they've got a McCree that's got godlike reflexes and is gonna flashbang you, you'll kill that person and you'll get away. So, your playstyle that I've seen in this game, I think is more suited to playing Genji than Tracer, because I think that's a more valid way of playing Genji. Not that I think it was fine in this game, but I think you would have more luck playing the way you do with Genji than Tracer. So, but, as for the main things that stood out to me in this game, other than that long, because that's not really, something to work on, that's just, I'd recommend trying Genji, instead. But the main things that stood out with playing Tracer is we die mostly because we are playing too aggressively while recall is on cooldown or while we're low on blinks. If you're low on blinks and you have no recall, you have to play more cautiously until you have more resources to work with, basically, because otherwise, risk of suddenly dying becomes very high, and doesn't matter how much pressure you're applying, if you die, all pressure is immediately relieved. So you have to be very careful about how aggressive you are when you're low on resources. And the other thing is ult execution, but there's kind of two parts to that, where you don't need to fixate on using pulse bombs so much on a combo unless you have a Zarya, because you do want to try and arrange that one, because that's very strong and has very little counterplay associated with it. Almost none, actually. Basically your options are have more than 400 HP or have a Lucio that's really good at timing his ultimate. So you do want to try and arrange that one. If you don't have a Zarya, you don't really need to have to worry about it, and you're better off just trying to pick people off with it. So it's like, don't worry about lining it up with people other than Zarya, and just use it to pick people off instead, because that's kind of the point. And also be careful about sticking tanks, just in general, because it doesn't straight up kill any tank except for Zarya, which is also kind of scary because Zarya can shift as well, and then you won't kill her. But she's the only one who just straight up dies to the bomb because she doesn't have any armor and only has 400 hit points. So you generally don't want to just stick tanks. You're usually looking to pick off stickies. You're usually looking to use your sticky to pick off squishy heroes instead. It's fine to stick a tank as long as you know that they will die from it, or that you can do enough, you or your team can do enough damage to kill them. Like if you're gonna stick Orisa, you have to know her shift is on cooldown, or get her low enough that it's not gonna matter, or like bait her shift out of her first. You can't really just stick her, because you need to know that her shift is down, or you won't kill her. So, those are the main things that stood out to me in this game. Thank you very much for watching if you did. Hopefully I answered your question from the email. If not, let me know. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.